Okay, this is a SpatialXL video that shows how to use the auto cluster tool. So just a quick demonstration of that, since I'm using this in another training set. So in this illustration, I've done an allocation of call points or outlets to particular depots. And now I want to create clusters based on volume of these different call points, and I don't want them to cross over between depots either. So these ones I'd like to remain with depot 1, depot 3, depot 2. So what I do is I go to Tools, Spatial Tools, Auto Cluster, and the layer I will choose is closest, and the cluster field is actually a new cluster field, because I'm just going to call it cluster. The cluster category is closest depot, which basically means because it's a category, we're not going to cross over. The aggregation field is volume, and we'll do a sum of volume. And it sort of works out an aggregation limit of about 100 cases, or whatever the case may be, whatever we're using, which gives us 24 clusters. So maybe that's totally fine to use for my particular example. So everything is set up, so I simply say compute, and it's done. And when we close this, you will see that there is a cluster field where we've got a number of clusters created. Let's have a look at which ones we've got here. All right, so what we can do now is we can just give us a add this or update layer extent, and it will now include cluster in closest. So what we can do here is in our thematics, we can just create a cluster theme, and instead of closest depot, we can use our cluster field there and choose unique columns. And there's the clusters. And here you can see what number of points are in each cluster. And if you look at the data in here, just to illustrate, if we grouped by cluster and we got our total volume, it will be as close to 100 as it possibly can be. Obviously, it has to also be geographically close together, so sometimes you won't be able to fully get to that, but it definitely will not go over 100, and it will be as close to it as it possibly can get. And now I could basically use a routing tool such as transportation scheduling or some bulk routing tool to route these clusters. So this can be used in territory planning as well.